I'm Robin from The Alchemist Path, and I wanted to share one of my favorite things that I have made. This is a multi-arcade machine emulator cabinet. It has thousands of games, and I'm going to show you a little bit. It's my design, and it took me a year and a half to do. But it's a full-up cabinet, and I have LED matrices up here, and I'll go through basically how I constructed most of this. I have bezels. I have a horizontal and vertical orientation, and then here's my control panel, in which I have a 2-player set of keys, buttons and joysticks, and a trackball. And I'll go ahead and I'm running MAME 32 because I have some old ROMs. So this is my front end, and these are all the games that I have. So now, as for gameplay, I can do virtual quarters by pressing the player 1 button and the first button on the player side. You can insert as many virtual quarters as I want. And I have a 2-player control panel, so if you hit the 1 player, it's first. If you hit the 2-player, it is 2. So for gameplay, I'll just go ahead and select. And this is Splatterhouse. And then I'll also show you, I run some other emulators, and I also have House of the Dead, where I can, I got light guns. So, it's got good gameplay. So when I want to exit out, I just I hold down the first player, and I hit the player 2 button, and it exits back out to the front end. And this is what you call the front end. It displays all the ROMs, all the games. And I'm going to back out one more step, the same way. And this is going to take me to my Windows desktop. And actually, I'm going to, when I go into this, because I want to go to a different emulator, I'm running my front end again. These are the different emulators I'm running. I'm running MAME 148 to play some of the Tekken games, I believe it was. My MAME 32, which plays, I have thousands of ROMs, thousands of games. And my Sega Arcade. My Sega Arcade is for the light guns. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. And I'm going to put on House of the Dead. And then I'm going to go grab my light guns. So I apparently already have 11 credits in here, so here's my light gun. I got hit start. So this is a lot of fun, and I'll show you how this has to be, and I'll show you how to set this up.
Others are still inside. Save them.
And to reload, you gotta point it in the air and pull the trigger.
Okay.
that's it. So that is my House of the Dead. I got Virtual Cop too. Exit out of that. Put my gun away. So now how did I make this? I'll show you. Okay, so how did I make this? I basically took plywood and I cut 2 identical sides. And then I used plywood up top. Okay. Then in order to make sure I always had access to these speakers, I basically created a frame on a hinge. Okay, just like so, with some plexiglass. And I just mitered the sides, the corners. And then basically what I have here is a daisy-chained matrices of LEDs. And I gutted a couple of PC speakers and mounted them. And then I used, I believe it was 22 gauge wire. And I ran that back and then down. And then I have I believe it's 26-inch LCD monitor. I cut holes here for the PC speakers. It's kind of hard because I have it black on black, but I have a tweeter also. Here's the control panel. So for the control panel, I have the first player 1, player 2, and I use the color coding on an Xbox controller. And these are very special joysticks. I ordered these from England, and I'll show you why in just a minute, but they have a 4 and an 8-way orientation lock, and it can switch just by pulling up on it and giving it a twist. And a trackball for like Centipede and bowling. Okay, so I have this hinged so I can get into it, and let's see if I can get some light on here. This is an encoder. I believe it's the Winnie Pack. It's been a while since I did this in 2012, 2013. It took me a year and a half. And this encoder, what it does is basically the emulators. Normally, when you would run it on a PC, you would operate the game using a keyboard. So you have different letters that would have different operations. This encoder takes what would be those letters as letter presses, and it translates it so that you can use buttons, your joystick, instead of pressing keys on a keyboard to play the game. So it's a wonderful, wonderful piece. Here is the optical trackball, and it has a wiring harness, and these are the switches, and here's the joystick, and there's a switch on this joystick. Right there. There's some white plastic, and when I pull up on it and twist the joystick, it engages that switch, in which it locks it into a 4-way or an 8-way orientation. And that's key when it comes to games where you could have a dead zone. So that's how the underside looks with the encoder. And these buttons, I fashioned them after the color coding of an Xbox controller. But I don't know if you're familiar with Hori fight sticks, but Hori fight sticks are some of the best of the best. And I actually laid out
I made a template. So this is actually in the orientation of a Hori fight stick. Distance between buttons and layout. To construct this control panel, I needed a special router bit that does for T-molding. And I was gonna do the art myself, but I just decided it'd be easier to get this. It's like got a plasticized coating, which is really nice. And how you get it to stay is that you have a groove running along here. That's the T-molding router bit. And then you wrap it around and you tuck it in. You tighten it in, just like so. Like a rubber mallet. And next, I will go ahead and pop out this bezel. This bezel is plexiglass with a mat board that is cut to size. So I can just pull this out, just like so. And here you'll see my makeshift. It's the PC speaker that I gutted. And here's an Arduino. And that Arduino is running the program that is driving this LED matrice. And then of course I have a USB hub in here because I was running out of USB ports and I had short reach. So I made sure that this monitor was mounted on a fully articulated mount, so I can actually rotate this into a horizontal or a vertical orientation as well.
So here's an example of it with the vertical orientation. I put in the vertical bezel and rotated the monitor.
This is the infrared that is necessary in order to operate light guns on an LCD or an LED monitor. Because light guns only really work alone with cathode ray tube, CRT monitors. This is what you need in order to receive the signal when you have an LCD or an LED monitor like I do. Okay? So that, and then this is MDF board, because this is all rather lightweight. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up. And then we'll go ahead and take a look down here. And basically what I did was, for these ROMs, they're rather simple, so I didn't need much, but I did build a new PC. Using an i3. That's all I needed. In 2012, I just needed an i3, and I put in a GE Force graphics card. Because the Sega emulator needs a pretty decent graphics card. So it has an NVIDIA. And then here's my light guns. And they're just USB light guns. And then I also have a flight stick, and just a surge guard for my mess, and then this is an old school hard drive, backup hard drive with some of the ROMs. Again, I run a simple Windows 10 environment, and then I run emulators, as I mentioned before, but I packaged everything up nice, and I use this Atomic front end as my front end, and it just collects everything and it makes a nice front end. So then I can use the joystick here to navigate. So I have my MAME 32, I mean that other one, the MAME 140, I think it was 148. And then I have the Sega emulator, Sega Arcade, which has the House of the Dead and Virtual Cop and Virtual Fighter. And then I have Sega Console for some Master System and Genesis games. So you can add all kinds of emulators on here, roll them into your front end. So that's about it. This is my pride, my joy. I had a blast putting this together. It's my design. As I just kept going, I just kept adding, I kept coming up with ideas. This is what I did with my engineering degree, my electrical engineering degree.
So thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.